Good morning
from Buenos Aires. If you watched our last video, then you'll know that we've had a little bit of trouble trying to get ourselves some money. And the reason for that is because the inflation rate here in Argentina is absolutely nuts. So we've been kind of trying to scurry around, trying to figure out the right solution, because in terms of the banks, they charge exorbitant fees and only let you take out maybe about $35 to $40 Canadian, which obviously isn't enough for a full trip to Argentina. We heard that the best way to get around this was Western Union, so we tried doing that yesterday. We found that you had to do a different way of doing things, but then we had a chat with somebody on our tour of Palermo yesterday, and they said basically that we had to create a Western Union account and try and send ourselves some money so that we can pick it up at the nearest Western Union branch. So that is what we did in the very late hours of last night in the hope that we can pick something up today. So let's hope that this works.
And we're back at Western Union to try again.
We did it. We were successful.
It's done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
To replicate the experience for yourself, should you come through Argentina or indeed anywhere that has a Western Union, if you're so inclined, then you need to set up an account online, but make sure it's for your home country's Western Union website, because it's kind of difficult to change out of it once you created the account. Then you go to the Western Union main page and you opt to go through the standard transfer process for however much to however much in Argentinian pesos. So you need to make sure that all of the details between your own account and the place that you're sending it to, i.e. the recipient, are completely identical. So you need to make sure that, in my case, I'm doing my full name, sending to my full name from Canada to Argentina. And then you go through that process. You can pay with either credit card, debit card, do a bank transfer, whatever. But whatever you do, in order to receive it, you make sure it's a cash pickup. Once you've done that and you go through all the processes, then you get a receipt back from Western Union, which will have a tracking number. You then take that to whichever Western Union branch is going to be open. We've chosen this one because it had the highest reviews in Buenos Aires. And you just need to make sure that you go with an ID. A passport will definitely do. And then once that happens, you present the tracking number and your passport, and then you are able to pick up your cash and freely spend it in Argentina. Complicated, we know, but that's just how things work here for now. So hopefully this will help you should you choose to come to this already awesome country. But now that we have that, it's now time to figure out a different part of Buenos Aires, and that is the public transport system. So let's go.
Just a quick stop at Plaza Italia before we figure out Buenos Aires' public transportation system. Taking the Subte here in Buenos Aires was very simple and comfortable, just like any other big metro system in the world. All you do is buy a Subte card at one of the metro stations and you just load it for the amount of trips that you want to take. You can use a Subte card for 2 people. The only difference between different metro systems in the world is that you have to pay cash for the card as well as reloading it. Although I do believe there is an app, we will explore that further. I know that we paid 3,000 Argentinian pesos for our card as well as some trips, but I don't know the difference in price for the actual card versus the trips. We have still yet to discover that. But either way, $5 for the card and some trips is a pretty good deal.
In amongst all the excitement, we've actually realized we haven't told you what the plan is for today. So let's clear that up right now. We actually have 2 different walking tours for today, which are going to take us around 2 new neighborhoods for us in Buenos Aires. And that's going to be Recoleta and Retiro.
However, we're about half an hour early. I'd rather be early than rushing. And so now we wait. In order to escape the deadly yellow fever outbreak in 1871, wealthy families living in the southern Buenos Aires neighborhoods of San Telmo, Montserrat, and La Boca moved north and expanded the city limits by creating what would become the neighborhoods of Retiro and Recoleta. Between 1880 and 1930, Argentina prospered as it developed trade relationships with the UK and France and experienced a period of mass migration, particularly from Europe. Influenced by their trade partners, these aristocratic families erected Parisian-style buildings in their newly adopted neighborhoods.
Plaza General San Martin is named after Argentina's liberator and boasts a monument in his honor that was inaugurated in 1862. The Ancorena Palace, built in 1908, and the Paz Palace, completed in 1914, are two remaining examples of Parisian-style mansions. Like many of the mansions built by the aristocracy, both palaces were sold to the Argentine government in the mid-1930s as a result of the Great Depression, and have since been repurposed into government buildings.
The Recoleta neighborhood is named after Convento de Recoleta, which was established by a Franciscan order in the 18th century, who built a monastery and church dedicated to Señora de Pilar in the Spanish colonial architectural style. We just finished our walking tour with Paloma, and I really enjoyed learning about a different part of Buenos Aires history. Yesterday we kind of learned about more modern history from the 1900s. And this was history from the 1800s and when Buenos Aires really flourished as a city. So it was nice to not have colonial history, but something in between colonial and modern history.
I think the other amazing thing is just how distinctively different these particular neighborhoods are from the one that we visited yesterday. Because with Palermo, it kind of reminded me more of Gethsemane in Cartagena and Comuna 13 a little bit, just in the sense of the art and like the narrowness of the streets and everything like that. Whereas obviously this is so much more urban, modern looking, wouldn't look out of place in pretty much most cities. And so having that real contrast just between neighborhoods is just so fascinating.
Actually, to expand on that, the architecture here is so European, particularly Parisian, and you didn't get any of that type of architecture in Palermo. This is a very distinct architectural style here, and I love how so far it seems like each of the barrios have their own identity.
But now that we've explored that, we are pretty damn peckish, so we are going to try and find some lunch.
That restaurant was a recommendation from our tour guide yesterday, and boy did one come through. Those empanadas were so good. I had verdura, which in this case was like spinach with some cheese, and then I also had the carne, and the pastry was fantastic. The fillings were so flavorful. What did you have again?
So I ended up having, I think it's a mita, which ended up being like a really soft cheese, sweet corn and onions. It's a really popular flavor here in Argentina and it is amazing. I totally understand why. And then they had chicken, which came in like this incredible sauce, and then also had a meat one like you did. And honestly, every single one of them was just perfect.
And when you think that the two of us had lunch for 8,500 Argentinian pesos, which I think works out to be, what did you say?
I think it was $12.60 Canadian or $9.25 US.
That's great value considering how full we were afterwards and the quality of the food.
100%. That was a stellar recommendation. I'm so glad we ended up doing that.
We are now just waiting in a park close to Recoleta Cemetery because we have a walking tour starting in about, I want to say, half an hour of that. So we're just going to chill in the beautiful sunshine until the start of that tour, and we'll take you along with us.
Sure. As part of the walking tour, we do actually have to get our own separate entry into the cemetery. So the tickets right now, they may change in 2 weeks, who knows, are 14,320 pesos, which ends up being about $21 Canadian or about $15.50 US.
Recoleta Cemetery belonged to the Convento de la Recoleta in the 18th century, sitting next to the Iglesia de Nuestra Señora del Pilar. Recoleta Cemetery became a free, public and Catholic cemetery in 1822. However, when the aforementioned rich families from the south of the city moved north, the cemetery transformed into one for the wealthier and more prominent members of society. These aristocratic families commissioned gigantic and elaborate mausoleums made of materials imported from Europe in order to lay their loved ones to rest.
Nowadays, Recoleta Cemetery covers 14 city blocks and contains over 4,700 above-ground mausoleums, holding approximately 300,000 people. The site contains the graves of many notable people, including former presidents of Argentina, Nobel Prize winners, and military officials, but perhaps none more famous than Eva Perón, the former First Lady of Argentina, who was also known for her work as an activist, actress, and philanthropist.
Just finished our tour of the cemetery, and honestly, what a tour. It was really, really fascinating. Like, honestly, back there is an absolutely huge expanse of tombs. It's basically like a city of the dead. It's really unlike anything we've ever seen, and getting to see just how ornate the tombs are and hearing about the stories behind the people that were there was really, really insightful.
I absolutely loved hearing about the development of the cemetery and how it came to be what it is today. And just to echo what Nick said, the mausoleums are like nothing I've ever seen in my life. Just the sheer grandeur of them is so impressive. but we are super cold and it's been a crazy long day. We haven't been home since we left this morning after doing 2 tours, so we are now going to take the metro back to our Airbnb.
And equally, because we have nothing else planned, then we're going to call it here. So until next time, take care.
And keep smiling.